Sri Yantra, the first get blown up or the regular Sri Yantra display?
Yeah. Do you want to just
It's
use
not, I
this?
don't think I have to travel too far, I guess. And you'll have to.
That, yeah,
If it is here, it looks like probably. And if we can capture the image in turn,
sure,
this
sure.
could be.
Eh, Okay. Let me post this link first to Kaushal.
Will be a lag.
Yeah, because it's actually playing what's on the thing. There would be a little bit of lag, but that's okay. It doesn't bother us. Okay, I've sent it to Kaushi. So now we should start to see people joining. You want to start with that Sri Yantra picture? So I think we have this picture.
Then it should be
Is
fine.
enough, right?
That's fine. In the physical details is concerned, at that time, the nine individuals, just yesterday,
Mm-hmm.
those, but
Yeah,
that
you just
bunch
tell
has
me
been
what
good.
you want, and I'll just bring that up. Yeah. Okay. So she added. Okay, she's posted the link. Okay. I think Kaushi will keep us updated. Um, so you want to start here? I'll just. I'm just so see. I can switch back and forth between the. Yeah. Now it's a camera view.
Okay.
Yeah.
Um, शुक्लाम्बरधरं विष्णुं शशिवर्णं चतुर्भुजं प्रसन्नवदनं ध्यायेत् सर्वविघ्नोपशान्तये प्रज्ञानां ब्रह्मयमात्मा ब्रह्मतत्त्वमसि अहं ब्रह्मास्मि ॐ हंसशिवस्सोऽहं हंसः हसकप्रेमदक्षमलवरयोमसौं साक्षमलधरयीं सह स्वरूपनिरूपणहेतवे स्वगुरवे श्रीमज्ञानां विकासमेत श्रीचैतन्यानन्दनाथ श्रीगुरुश्रीपादुकां पूजयामि तर्पयामि नमः. Welcome everybody. I'm not sure how many are there. Welcome to all of you. And welcome to all those who are going to join in the next few minutes too. That said, today the topic is going to be about Sri Yantra for the information about Sri Yantra typically for general consumption. Okay, so you need not have to be an initiate to know about this part of it. So anybody and everybody is most welcome to join. With that said, the first question I would like to ask, okay, let me go back one step here. There is a possibility that several of you may have already been initiated into Sri Vidya path, and whether you're initiated or not, probably quite a few of you will have been, to some extent, familiar with what the Sri Yantra is about. So there is a possibility during this class, some of you may feel that I am speaking too much of what you already know, or I'm speaking too much of what you just do not know, and that's not the way to go about. In any which case, you are most welcome to interrupt me with your questions or comments, or probably you may ask me to just slow down a little bit or hasten up a little bit. Okay. With that said, the first question that comes up that I'd like to ask And answer again is, what exactly is Sri Yantra? The temple from where I am speaking right now, it's called Sri Vidya Temple, founded by my Guru Chaitanyanandanath Saraswati, and who was initiated into Sri Vidya path by his Guru Amritanandanath Saraswati of Devipuram, Vizag. Sri Vidya is a part tantric school of tradition which teaches in general a very healthy regimen of tantric practices, physical discipline, a yogic discipline, and so on. And the Sri Vidya as a path, it encompasses several methodologies of worshipping divinity, and in that methodology, it brings in a large set of the so-called yantras and another large set of so-called murtis and another large set of so-called mantras. So all these three things will be categorized into tantra, mantra, and yantra. And out of all these yantras that Sri Vidya would tend to propound, Sri Yantra is considered to be the paramount. That's why Sri Yantra is also known as Yantra Rajam. That means it is the king or queen of all the yantras. Sri Vidya as a tradition, it has been there for several thousands of years. If you look at Ramayanam, when Rama and Lakshmana were taken by Vishwamitra to protect his yajna, and those two were little boys at that time, probably in their teens. On the way, before Rama kills Tataki, at that early morning hours, when he wakes up, when Vishwamitra wakes him up, and Vishwamitra gives Rama and Lakshmana two mantras. In fact, there are two astras. They are Bala and Atibala. Bala and Atibala actually are the Sri Vidya variants. If one is familiar with Bala Upasana, towards the end of Bala Upasana, there are a couple of mantras. They are called Bala and Atibala. In fact, with the help of these two astras, they will be able to vanquish the subsequent demons that they face during the yaga. So, what I mean to say here is Sri Vidya has been there since as old a time as that. Probably well before that, because Vishwamitra knew about it, Vasishtha knew about this. So, several centuries or millennia even before Rama came into picture, okay, the Sri Vidya tradition had been there. And Sri Vidya, in a way, what happens in the case of Sri Vidya is it gives the Upasaka a kind of jump start to push him from the realm of formless, so a realm of form, into the realm of formless. That sometimes, if a person is not generally aware of the ambience, there's a possibility the person can get confused and get misled and probably even can get hurt. That's why, or probably that's the reason, Sri Vidya as a path had been maintained to be very esoteric and highly secretive. Very highly secretive. In fact, one of my uncles, he was practicing Sri Vidya, and I came to know of it only after he passed away. Until then, I did not know about it. And this is how it used to be maintained in India. Why in India? Probably in most of the places where the Vidya was there. It was maintained so much so that you are practicing, your neighbor may not know about it. Essentially, it is a fear of unknown, a possibility that it can hurt, probably it can cause more harm than good. But then what happened over these several millennia, human knowledge and human awareness has increased, has accumulated in an exponential way. So much so, something a calculation as simple as say 7 times 3 or 12 times 4. An 8-year kid today will just answer that question without blinking his eye. If we go back, say 100 years from now, not many adults would answer that as readily. And if we go back 500 years from there, not many scholars would answer it so readily. They will take time. So over a period of this time, slowly the mass of humanity, so to say, accumulated knowledge, accumulated awareness in an exponential fashion. So much so today, if we give a cell phone to a toddler, he knows how to flip the pages. So the concept of virtually flipping something or playing or interacting with something virtual, it's already there in the humanity. So that is the dealing with reality and virtuality is already coming hand in hand here, which could not have been imagined during the time of Wright brothers. Because of that, now there are certain schools of thought that believe that it is time to take the next big jump, a quantum leap. That's why, and that's probably one of the reasons, in our lineage, if anybody has an opportunity to visit Devipuram, Devipuram is a abode of my Paramaguru, my Guru's Guru. There you will see the banners on the wall, make Sri Vidya your way of life. It need not be as secretive as it used to be. Now, in Sri Vidya, as I mentioned, Sri Yantra is one of the most prominent yantras that is used. Now, what is Sri Yantra? Coming back to it. Sri Yantra in Saundarya Lahari, it is described very well in very concise fashion, but very clear by Shankaracharya. In fact, this is another point I wanted to make. During these later times, Sri Vidya, particularly Sri Yantra Upasana, was brought into limelight essentially by Shankaracharya. Going by history, the way history states, Shankaracharya brought in the Upasana of Sri Yantram in a very big way. In fact, there are certain places where the deities were Ugram. So he went there and he installed Sri Yantra in front of the deity or underneath those Vigrahams so that the Murti became much more mellowed down. And he says in Saundarya Lahari, which I am going to discuss in further detail to the later part of our class today. In essence, the shloka would mean there are 5 feminine principles and 4 masculine principles. When they interact or when they intertwine with each other, and at that point, the so-called state of singularity, that means state of ekatvam, that's also known as Shambhavi Sthiti. When that Sthiti goes through, the word he uses is intercepts through this network, it creates a network of 44 triangles and then some petals and then 3 squares. I'm putting it in a very, very high level superficial way so that we can discuss this separately afterwards. Okay, that is how the Sri Yantra is formed. Sri Yantra, it will have 44 triangles. It has got a 16 petal lotus, an 8 petal lotus, and then a set of three concentric squares and a set of three concentric circles. What these are, we'll talk about it shortly. With that said, typically if you look at Sri Yantra, yeah, there's a Sri Yantra.
Yeah, let me get that.
This is how it would look like. It will have those 44 triangles, and then it has got three circles, and then the three concentric squares. Okay, centered with a dot. This dot is called Bindu. We put in there a dot because we have to see something over there. That's why we put in a very small circle or a dot. Or if it is a 3D image, or if it is a 3D model, then you will see a small sphere, a small marble sitting at the top. Actually, it is supposed to be something, a dot, which is not supposed to occupy any place, any space. And logically, it is not supposed to occupy any time. Just one instant of nothingness is the Bindu. This is the typical structure of Sri Yantra. Now, coming to the physical details of the Yantra. The Yantra, again, let me go back to the definition of what this Yantra is. What is a Yantra? Yantra is essentially, putting it in a very, very technical language, it is a systematic spatial distribution of a set of sounds. That's it. So you will have, to just denote the spatial distribution, you will have a physical pattern, and in this pattern, at each point, there is going to be one sound that is written, and a sadhaka, he will focus in that particular area while chanting that particular sound or that particular set of sounds or that particular mantra. There are certain yantras where in each place there will be a particular mantra that will be written. So when the upasaka is going to focus on that yantra, he will focus on that particular area of the yantra to chant that particular set of sounds. The set of sounds may be a mantra or just pure bijaksharas. And typically in Sri Vidya, you deal with a lot more of bijaksharas than mantras. That is one way to denote that the person or the upasaka is transcending from the realm of form to the realm of formless. Okay. Now, this yantra, can we have a 3D model?
Yes, yeah.
This yantra,
This one here?
this is fine. It will have 9 layers. The 9 layers, starting from the bottom to the top, we will have the bottommost layer. There are 3 steps here. All the 3 steps put together will form one layer. After this, you will find a set of 3 concentric circles. These circles actually denote the transcendence of the person's consciousness, which feels that it is separate from the universe, into a realm where the consciousness will feel it is one with the universe. Universe in itself is one. So, this will be the first layer. This is just a separation, not any distinct layer as such. Layer 1, layer 2. The layer 2, second, that is layer 2, yeah. Layer 2, it will have 16 petals. Layer 3, we have 8 petals. And layer 4, we have 14 triangles. Layer 5, 10 triangles. 6th layer, 10 triangles. 7th layer, 8 triangles, 8th layer, 1 triangle, and the 9th layer is the dot or the bit. So what you can physically observe here is from something that is very large and physical to something that is very small, tending to nothingness. Physically, it is representing all those particular states, from being very large and physical to being very subtle and near nothing. In fact, it is nothing. So from many thingness to nothingness, the transcendence is represented by the architecture of Sri Yantra. Okay. Now, depending on the traditions, this in fact yesterday somebody was asking the question, what kind of sampradayam do the Devipuram Merus follow? So depending on sampradayam, okay, quoting that question as well, referring that question as well, depending on sampradayam, this Meru, you have a solid version here. Or yeah, depending on the sampradayam, we'll have so many variants to this structure. Okay. This Meru, if this yantra, if it is a 3D pattern, it is called Meru. If it is a flat part pattern, it is called Sri Chakra. Or this 3D pattern is called Meru Prastaram, and the flat pattern is called the Bhu Prastaram. And this Meru Prastaram, again there are variants. Typically, if the height is equal to the side, that is called Purna Meru. Okay, height equal to one of the side. Basically, the side it's actually a square. The base is a square, so you shouldn't be having the question whether it is the length or the breadth. So it's a square. So the sides are equal, and if the side and the height of the Meru are equal, that is called a Purna Meru. If the height is half the side, it is called Ardha Meru. Devipuram's pattern, Sampradayam, would typically have the Ardha Meru configuration.
Okay.
Okay. And if it is less than half, typically it will be 1/4, 1/3, depending on again the Sampradayam, so it is called Parshva Meru. Okay. So we have Purna Meru, Ardha Meru, Parshva Meru, and then there is another one which is called Kurma Prastara. That means the surface will be some kind of spherical. It need not be always spherical, because there are Sri Yantras that are inscribed on the back of a Salikramam, which is not exactly spherical, but definitely it is not flat. And there are certain Sri Yantras that are inscribed on a Shivalingam. Okay? So all those things, they fall under the category of Kurma Prastara. Okay? So we have got Purna Meru, Ardha Meru, Parshva Meru, Kurma Prastaram, and then Kailasa Prastaram. Kailasa Prastaram, again, if you go back to Devipuram's Meru model here, this is what Guruji referred to as a Kailasa Prastaram. See, what happens is you will see this hexagon here. Okay. What has happened is the preceding layer is milled out by a depth of about 25% of the total height of that particular layer. It is milled out. Okay. And this is called, so this, the milled out portion and the layer beneath put together forms one avarana. Okay, it's called Kailasa Prastaram. I happened to ask Guruji, why did you do it? What exactly is that? He said he did not give the detail. Probably he said, probably he thought, hey, let the guy do some more research. But sometime later he said, Shankar, please do your research, we'll compare notes. Okay, he sometimes is extremely mischievous. So he said, then after that, it never happened. I could not meet him after that. Hopefully, I'll get some answers going forward. But he said, this kind of a Meru, you can just keep it anywhere in your house. Okay, you don't have to do regular puja and all that. And this can really protect it from all kinds of odds. That means it can absorb all negativities that can come in your way. Okay, so this is called Kailasa Prastaram. But there are certain other traditions that I have, but I have yet to see the models. Okay, the other traditions that would describe Kailasa Prastaram are slightly different. I don't have the model to show it to you. Okay, Kailasa Prastaram and then Bhu Prastaram. Bhu Prastaram is just a Sri Yantra inscribed, either embossed or inscribed or etched. Etching is, it could be a positive etching or a negative etching. That means along the tracks you dig in. In the other case, the tracks would be elevated, the rest of the material will have been removed through electrolysis process or something like that. Okay, that is Bhuprastara. And the Sri Yantra will be surrounded by four deities. Okay, the square represents Ganapati. This is Surya. Vishnu. Basically, it represents water and a dot. So Vishnu staying in ocean, the ocean of milk is represented here. Vishnu, and then Shiva. This this set of four deities, they are called Chaturayatanam. And originally, Chaturayatanam was not a part of Sri Yantra. Chaturayatanam, first of all, it is an extraneous part to Sri Yantra. Number two, the Chaturayatanam was not even a part of the tradition of worshipping Sri Yantra or using Sri Yantra for pujas. It appears that the Chaturayatanam configuration came in from the time of Bhaskara Raya when he had to do the Chaturayatanam and then get into Sri Vidya, into Sri Chakra Upasana. He just merged those two things. This is one of the episodes I have heard. Okay, so how much of it is a fact, how much of it is an opinion, is again could be a little bit debatable. But the fact of the matter for sure is Chaturayatanam was not, at least some time back, it was not integral part of Sri Yantra. That's why if you see most of the Sri Yantras, you will not see these four along with it. But what is in vogue, whenever we do Sri Chakra Upasana, Sri Chakra Puja, Sri Yantra Puja, it will be preceded by Chaturayatana Puja. So instead of having them separate somewhere else, we just include it. Okay? Then, okay, that is about the physical details of Sri Yantra. That is, as I said, there will be 9 layers, a square, 3 circles, 16 petals, 8 petals, 14 triangles, 10 triangles, 10 triangles, 8 triangles, a single triangle, and a top, a bindu or a spherical dot perching at the top. That is the physical details of Sri Yantra. Up till this point, are there any questions?
I think specific questions, yeah, I think there is a question about what about Spatika Meru? So the question is, I think, about the materials that the Meru can be made of. There are some general questions which came in before the class, which we can maybe come to later.
Okay.
But specific to what you talked about, I think
Yeah.
this is
Materials of the Meru. Okay, here probably I can add one more point regarding the traditions. Materials of the Meru, there are Merus that are made out of gold. I've seen gold Merus. They're very expensive though, but they do make, people have who can afford them, because gold, it retains the energy much better. And then the next one, you can have a silver Meru, but then maintenance will be a pain because silver tarnishes very fast and you have to maintain it very regularly. Okay, or otherwise you make it out of silver, gold plate it. It will sit there for a long time. But again, silver is much more malleable, so it can get deformed very easily. So you have to be very careful with it. The next one is brass or bronze. Okay, as Devipuram Merus are made. Okay, and there are Merus made out of spaticum, and there are Merus that are inscribed on saligramas, a Kurm Meru. Okay. So these are all the materials that we can use. And also yesterday, I think somebody had asked a question, can the Meru be hollow? The Meru can be hollow. That's once again, it's a matter of probably opinion, because I have seen both the Merus in the temple here. Okay, and some of the Merus that we brought from Devipuram, they were again filled with honey and then sealed. Okay, but there are several schools of thought that propound that the Meru need not be solid. Okay, but what I personally believe, you have the Sri Yantra that your Guru gives you. Okay, and do not try to analyze it. If your Guru gave it, your Guru gave it. Okay. Then when you start doing your upasana, at one point you will know. It will tell you whether that particular Meru fits you or you have to take to something else. But my personal opinion, both the Merus for a general upasaka are just about the same. You don't have to worry about it. Or putting it in other words, there is no negative effects entirely by having a hollow Meru. Okay? Only the positive advantage of having a hollow Meru is it is much more portable than a solid Meru. That's all. Okay? Everything. That's all right.
That's all about the
Okay.
physical
Okay.
form. Yeah.
Now we will go into.
Oh, one more question, yeah. This is kind of related. What kind of base is recommended to keep the Meru on?
The bases are typically, you have it on a wooden platform, best, or otherwise you will go use some kind of a brass platform. One of these two things is good enough. There are some people who would say, okay, spread a silk cloth on it, place it on it. Those things, once again, that your personal taste will come into picture. Don't put it on the bare ground. And I would personally feel that it is best if you put it on a wooden platform. Okay, and on the wooden platform you can have a Yonipitam kind of tool, contrivance, and inside that you can place the Meru, so that tomorrow if you have to do the Abhishekam, you can do the Abhishekam there, and the water will be directed through the spout of the Yonipitam into some other bucket or something. Okay, and so typically I'd like to have a Meru on a wooden platform. On the wooden platform, as I said, there will be Yonipitam made out of metal, which is fine. And any other paraphernalia, you want to have a silk cloth underneath, you want to have red color, fine, so be it. Okay. But don't use steel. I advise you not to use steel. Now, let us go into the spiritual details. Again, the question comes back. What is a Sri Yatra? In a spiritual perspective. This is where I'd like to discuss the Saundarya Lahari Shlokam in a further detail. The Shlokam says, Chaturbhi Shri Kantaihi Shiva Yuvatibhihi Panchabhirapi Prabhinnabhishambhoho Navabhirapi Moola Prakritibihi Chatuschatvarimshati Vasudala Kalascha Trivalaya Trirekhabhisartham Tavacharana Konaha Parinataha. Hey mother, your feet are surrounded by these things. That's what the sloka means. Tavacharana Konaha Parinataha. This one is surrounded. What exactly is surrounded by? Chaturbhi Shri Kantaihi. 4 Shivas. He will not even use the word triangle. It's just 4 Shivas. Shiva Yuvatibhi Panchabhirapi. Shivas damsels. Check these 5. So 4 Shivas and 5 of his damsels. Chaturbhi Shri Kantaihi. Shiva Yuvatibhi Panchabhirapi. Prabhinnabhihi. When these network of all these 4 and 5 get together, that network, when it is Prabhinnabhi, when it is intercepted through Shambho, the Shambhavi Sthiti. Prabhinnabhishambho. When it is intercepted, this results in what? Navabhirapi Moola Prakritibihi. Navabhi. 9 Moola Prakritibihi. Moola Prakritis. 9 root natures. So when 4 Shiva principles, or I would rather put it in a more mundane language, when 4 masculine principles and 5 feminine principles getting together is intercepted by the so-called the unitary state. It results in an explosion, a blob of 9 root natures. Navabhirapi Moola Prakritibihi. How exactly those 9 natures manifest in a shape? Chatuschatvarimshati, in the form of 44. Vasudala, Kalascha, Trivalaya, Trirekha. Vasudalam, that is a 8-petal lotus. Kalascha, this is 16 kalas, Nitya kalas. There are 16 petals. Trivalaya, 3 circles. Trirekha, 3 concentric squares. They are basically described as rekha. Trirekha Visartham. That is how it forms. Never ever anywhere he mentions the word triangle. It's just 44. But when you create the shape, when you try to draw in the shape based on this, it will form this so-called Sri Chakra or Sri Yatra. Now, the question is, how exactly does it, how can you correlate what is said in the shloka to physical shape? Just because I have triangles or 44 triangles, does it mean to say it validates the contents of the shloka? Or does it validate divinity? That would be a question. In fact, this is a question I was asking too. Now let me ask you a question. What is the natural shape of water? What's the natural shape of water? Typical answer would be it will take the shape of a container. Suppose the container is not there. What is the natural shape of water? For you to find an answer, it's very easy. Take a small beaker of oil, that is some liquid lighter than water. Put in a couple of drops into it. Not a whole lot of water, a couple of drops into it. What happens? You will see that water droplets resting at the base of the beaker, at the bottom of the sodium, that oil, and those drops will have a shape of a sphere. So, sphere is the natural shape of a liquid. So also, what is the natural shape of a solid? That's a tough question to answer. And what's the shape of a sound? Another tough question. Sometime back when they conducted, probably it's an accident or probably whatever, They just tried to see, they tried to experiment on the behavior of sound when the sound is impinged on a solid surface. They took in a diaphragm. On the diaphragm is allowed to vibrate or resonate. Any question?
Like,
It is allowed to resonate with the sound that is being impinged on it. When that happens, the diaphragm and on the diaphragm they would just sprinkle some fine sand, okay, or fine metal dust, and the dust automatically assume a particular geometrical pattern. I could have captured the screenshot placed here, but the screenshot that I could get online was very hazy, so I thought there wouldn't be too much of value posting it here. But I would recommend you guys to search out for Hans Jenny experiments. Hans Jenny, Hans Jenny, Hans Jenny Sriyantra. If these three keywords are used in YouTube, you will see. When Omkaram was impinged on the diaphragm, the shape the Omkaram created on the diaphragm was a Sriyantra. Nobody did to it. It is a natural shape. That's why this is one of the things I would, this is my personal opinion. When you are focusing on the physical structure, yeah, you focus it, that's fine. But don't get lost in just focusing on the shape, focusing on the position. Focus on the sound. Position it will take on its own. The simple analogy I would like to give is, if I want these four flat faces, okay, let me take this slide, it's easier. These four flat faces to be arranged in the form of a square. How would you do it? So you will just, not this way, this is not what I meant. Okay, the four faces will have to be in a square. I have to put it this way and take it, assemble the next one. It will slip away, and I will just do that. There you go. It is 4. Or I can just take it, grab it into my fist, it will automatically form 4. Okay. Probably I'll have to try something bigger. Let me see if I can. Yes, this is better. 4 different colors. Okay, these 4, if I have to put it in a square pattern, I'll have to just assemble them here one by one and then finally say, this is the form of a square. Instead of that, I'll just take them, grab it into my fist. I don't care what shape it assumes, I just grab them into my fist, it automatically forms a square. So thus, here, for this kind of objects, square is a natural shape. You don't have to put in an effort to bring them into a square pattern. In the same way, if you start focusing on the sound, the Sriyantra formation will take care of itself. But at the same time, for you to get to some modicum of comfort, if you don't use this, if you keep on chanting sound, you can get confused. That's where the Sri Yantra becomes helpful. The physical tool called Yantra helps you. Okay? Thus, Sri Yantra, one of the interpretations of Sri Yantra is, it is as the physical formation or it is the physical shape of Omkaram. That's one way you can put it. Another way, we know there are 3 states of our physical existence. One is state of being awake. The second one, state of being in a dream sleep, in a state of dreaming. The third one, state of deep sleep. And then the next state, which is not easy to attain, it is the state where you have gone beyond the dream, because even during that at the state of sleeping, you still are separate from the universe. You are sleeping, you are waking. The next state is the state where you are one with that universe. There is nothing separate. That's the fourth state. And from the fourth state, as it ascends, at one point, you will go beyond that. That is, you will start seeing how exactly this state, that very state itself, came into existence. These are the three layers. The first layer is being awake, dreaming, and sleeping. Those are the first three layers. Then, after that, the state of being one with the universe. The state of being one with the universe would form the next three layers. And then the state where the universe is just forming, that's just that micro, probably nanosecond when the Big Bang happened. That's the final three layers. What has happened is the physical being, the way it came into existence, it descended through those 9 layers and just ended up here. Now, the objective of Sri Vidya Upasana or Sri Chakra Upasana is once again transcend back from this big solid layer to that layer of nothingness. That's the objective behind the Sri Vidya Upasana actually. Because there will automatically there will be one question: why do I have to do this? This is one of the answers for it. Okay? And the way they are distributed, as I said here, the square base has got an element of rigidity to it. It expresses, and there are concrete definitions: left, right, move this way, move that way. Okay? Big, small, angry, like, dislike. So this state of multitude, where the definitions are rigid, okay, that would form. This is called the expressive state. That's why it is called the Prakata Yogini Tattva. That nature, that's the first nature, the gross and explicit nature is the Prakata Yogini Tattva. That is represented by the base layer. From that, when you transcend to the next level would be this petal stage. This is the petal stage where you will start experiencing slowly. You will just get a tap once in a while, kind of experiencing the situation of moving from a particulate nature to the wave nature and vice versa. That's why it is represented as a petal, not as an arc. So you just go in, there's a harmonic movement, there's a cusp, and then go back, then again the pattern repeats. Okay. So this is the explicit nature, that is Prakata Yogini Tattvam, where you are awake. This is the Gupta Yogini Tattvam. There is a second nature, that is where you are dreaming. Then after that, the next one, the third layer is called the Gupta Tara Yogini. That is all the more secretive, where you yourself are not aware of yourself. Okay? Awake, dreaming, deep sleep state. But still, here, in your innermost, you still will be separate from the universe. Okay? So, Prakata, Gupta, Guptatara. Until this point, there will be the movement will be in a very, very regular pattern. There are, as I said, there are definitions, rules, this way, left, right, up, down. Okay? But when you come here, the element of irregularity is included, but in a specific regular fashion. It is an irregular regularity, so to say, because that's where you have that so-called phase difference. The way the movement happens, it happens from behind, okay, 0, 90, 180, 270, 45. It jumps. 45, 135. 135 plus 90, 225, and then 315. So there are 8 petals. The way we traverse through these petals is we jump at the rate of 90 degrees, and then we take a phase difference and then jump again. Okay, that would be the sleeping stage. From here, the fourth layer, when you go in, this is where we get that so-called it is called Sampradaya Yogini Tattvam, but still from here, this point on, you will see the so-called quantum jumping. So much so, from the 14 triangle stage to the 10 triangle stage, when to go in, it is called the Kulottirna Yogini Tattvam. Now, I'll get back once again to the bottom. Prakata Yogini Tattvam, Gupta Yogini Tattvam, Guptatara Yogini Tattvam, Sampradaya Yogini Tattvam, Kulottirna Yogini Tattvam, and that once you get to the Kulottirna Yogini Tattvam, that means there is a state of the so-called dissociative association. You are not attached. That regularity, lack of regularity is the new norm, so to say. The best way of putting it is, if you are traveling from, say, Syracuse to Rochester, you will have to, if you are in this state, you will have to traverse if you want to reach Rochester from Syracuse, you will have to touch all the points in between, all the cities in between. There is no other way. Even if you fly, you still will have to fly on those cities. But when you come to this area, this Kulottirna Yogini Tattvam, you can be in Syracuse now, then you can be in Rochester without having to be anywhere in between. Okay, this is actually it's talking too much of science here. Basically, if you are into quantum physics, you will agree to this. I mean, this kind of movement is observed in subatomic particles. And the movement of electrons from one shell to the other or one subshell to another, you observe this kind of movement. So much so, the interesting thing in the electron, if you are into chemistry or physics, in electron configuration, there are the so-called SPD of subshells. One has 2 electrons, another shell can have only 6 electrons, then next shell can have only 10, the next shell have 14. If you sum that up, you have got 14 triangles, 10 triangles, 10 triangles, and 8. 8 is actually, there is a slight variance there. It is actually a sum of 6 and 2. So you have basically the configuration of 2, 6, 10, and 14. Reflective of the concepts of quantum physics. It's there, it just touches and goes. It's there. Okay. So now, once again coming back, Prakata, Gupta, Guptatara, Sampradaya, Kulottirna, Nigarbha, Rahasya, Atirahasya, Paraparatirahasya. That is how the 9 layers are formed. But I do not want to go too deep into this one unless you have some questions to ask. And so that, as a part of answering that question, I can explain things in as much relevant detail as possible. Any questions at this point?
Um, I'm just trying to see if there are any new questions.
Okay.
So some of the old questions I think were relevant to this, Shankaraya. Like, so the Avarana Devatas, the nature, the characteristics, and the personalities. they are briefly described as representing different personal or cosmic principles, right? Such as the 8 defilements, 10 mudras, siddhis, and so on. So, how does that map to what you're talking about?
Okay. Honestly, I did not plan to go into that because I thought it is more for non-initiates, but it is still fine. It's a very relevant question to be asked in this particular context. Now, there are 9 layers we talked about: Prakata, Gupta, Guptatara, Sampradaya, Kulotyena, Nigarbha, Rahasya, Adirahasya, Paraparachirahasya. And then there is one layer beyond that. Now, these 9 layers we can put in as 5 in the center, 2 above, 2 beneath. Okay? The 5 starting from this 8 petal lotus, okay? That is Prakara Gupta, from Gupta Tara onwards, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. These 5 layers, okay, are mapped to 5 states of physical existence. This is one way of looking at it. There is another way for that, but we'll talk about this way first. Okay, that is the solid, liquid, plasma, gas, and ether. Okay, this 8 petal lotus represents the solid state, and then the 14 triangles will represent the liquid state. Okay, and then the next 10 triangles would represent the plasma state, plasmic state, or the state of fire. And the next one, another triangle, a set of 10 triangles, would represent the gaseous state. And the seventh avaranam, which contains 8 triangles, it represents the Vyoma Tattvam. That means state of ether. And then beyond the Vyomam, there are 2 layers where it denotes the formation of these layers. And beneath this solid state, there are 2 layers which helps in expressing all these states in a physical form. And each of these layers are assigned a particular siddhi and a particular mudra. And there are 10 mudras. There are 9 avaranas and there are 10 mudras. Okay, that is Sarva Sanchobhini, Sarva Vidravini, Sarva Karshini, Sarva Shankari, Sarvonmadini, Sarva Mahankushe, Sarva Khechari, Sarva Bije, Sarva Yoni, Sarva Trikhanda. There are 10 mudras. And each layer is assigned 1 mudra. But then you will ask a question, there are 10 layers, 9 layers, but there are 10 mudras. What happened to the 10th one? The 10th mudra, typically the 10th mudra is taken as the Adhisthana Devata for the 8th avaranam itself. Or, okay, the 10th mudra is practiced typically by Shodashi Upasakas. If the person is not into Shodashi, the 10th mudra, Hasraim, Haskalarim, Hasrasauh, is performed at the 8th avaranam as if it is the Adhisthana Devata for that avaranam. Okay? Prakata Yoginis, Dram, Sarva Sanchobhini Mudra. Then Gupta Yogini, Dream, Sarva Vidravini Mudra. Next, Gupta Tara Yogini, Clean, Sarva Karshini Mudra. Like that, for each avaranam, there is one particular mudra as symbolism. And in fact, when you perform that mudra, it triggers a particular energy sequence in the body. What kind of energy sequence? Well, you have to experience it. Okay? Anything else here?
There are some general questions also, yeah.
Okay.
So, I mean, one more about this is, how do you explain the goddesses? So, we talk about all the yoginis in the Sri Chakra. Um what is their interpretation of the yoginis?
Sri Vidya Upasana as such is worshipping divinity, imagining the divinity to be feminine. When the divinity is feminine, or feminine form of divinity, it encompasses so many properties. And each property is assigned a personality. That is how you will have so many deities, Navavarna deities. Now here, this is, say for example, Prakata Yoginis, in the Bhupuram, we will say, okay? So what we will do is, the way uh, it starts from here, okay? Wait a second. Siddhis. Siddha Yoginis will be sitting in the outermost square, okay? Anima Siddhi, Laghima Siddhi, Mahima Siddhi. Each Siddhi will have a particular property. You assign a personality to that. You attribute a particular physical position in this avarana. Now, when you go deeper, okay, into the next avaranam, each of these siddhis will be assigned to one particular layer. That's how the assignment, the architecture goes. Okay, say in the innermost square, we will talk about Dram, Sarva Sanchobhini, Sarva Vidravini, Sarvakarshini, Sarva Vashankari. So these deities are placed in the Sri Yantra at a particular specific area in the outermost avarana. After that, when you go in deeper and deeper, each of these 10 mudras, which are deemed as deities here, they will be assigned at the rate of one mudra per each avarana. I'm not sure if I'm 100% clear here. Okay, mudras are deemed as separate deities, and all these dashamudras are stationed in the outer avaranam, in the expressive avaranam, prakata yogini tattvam. Then, when you go deeper in your upasana, these mudras will once again be split apart and be stationed one for each hour. I am not sure whether I am 100% clear here, but this is the best I would explain. And that way, the yoginis, they have got separate signatures of their own. The principal deities that are occupying each avaranam, they are first stationed out here, and then they are dispersed into the individual avaranams separately. And underneath each of those deities, there will be once again their own retinue and so on and so forth. And the other thing Ayya was mentioning was, Ayya means, for those of you who do not know, we call our Guru as Ayya, Chaitanya-Nath Saraswati. His Guru is known as Amritanandanath Saraswati. Okay? We asked, okay, suppose there is a deity here, say Sarva Sanchobhini, then Sarva Vidravini. Don't you have anything in between? What he says is, the whole Sri Yantra is filled with deities. But as you traverse from along this, say for example, along this line, as you traverse, you will see a number of scintilla, okay, flashing all over the place. When it comes here, the scintilla will be the brightest. From there, you will go again further. When you come here, she will be flashing much brighter and brighter and brighter and brighter and so on. So there will be a lot of that Mahachitra Shashti Koti Yogini Ganas, that 64 billion deities, they are all over here. But out of those 64 billion, there are some 102 of them that are prominent. And those are the 102 that we chant when we chant the Khadgamala. By the way, Khadgamala is the stotram that encompasses the list of all the deities that are sitting in the Sri Yantram. Okay, Sarva Sanchobhini, Sarva Vidravini, Sarva Akarshini, Sarva Shankari, Sarvonmadini, Sarva Mahankusha, Sarva Khechari, Sarva Bija, Sarva Yoni, Sarva Trikhanda. These are 10. These 10, they will first manifest in the outer avaranam, but after that, as you go into the Sri Chakram, deeper into the Sri Chakram, one of these mudras, okay, which whom you called yogini earlier, one of these mudras will be stationed in each of these avaranams. Okay. Anything else here?
Um, just a quick question, yeah, like a couple of questions, like if I have a Sri Chakra at home, what kind of basic puja can I do? Or maybe you will get to this later. And then there is no tradition of Sri Vidya in our family. How do you get initiated into this? So general questions like that.
Okay, if you don't have Sri Vidya tradition in your home, I'm not sure where you are, where the person is based out of. If they are based in India, there are so many schools that initiate people into Sri Vidya tradition. Okay, you can go to Devipuram, our Paramaguru's place. There you are initiated Sri Vidya. Here in Rochester, this temple is there. And there are a few other, several other places across the world where you may have to approach and then get the Diksha and start practicing the Vidya. Okay, now one exercise I'd like to recommend for people who are interested in learning about Sri Yantra and indirectly and gradually learning Sri Vidya is drawing the Sri Yantra. Drawing the Sri Yantra is almost tantamount to practicing Sri Vidya. There are several links. In fact, the write-up that I have sent, it contains the links where our Guruji, that is my Paramaguru, Devipuram, he explains how to draw Sri Yantra. And there are certain other traditions. There are certain other, Kramaratna is another user probably in YouTube. He uses a much more or much less empirical method. Guruji's method, the way he has described, it would hold good for sure for Sri Yantras of particular size. Whereas the other one, it just describes the Sri Yantra, it is much more scalable when compared to Guruji's methodology, because Guruji directly uses the empirical values 0.4, 0.5, the ratios, but those ratios may, I'm not 100% sure, I have not explored that. If the Sri Yantra becomes much larger, the accuracy of those ratios may not be valid. Okay, but there are certain other methods on YouTube that are available. It will not use ratios. Everything is relativistic inside, and you will just draw the Sri Yantra of any size. Okay, that's another thing that you can pursue. And apart from that, I would want to focus a little more about. Yeah, there was a screenshot that I took regarding the.
Yeah.
Okay,
I think this one, yeah.
Yes. This is something of interest that I would like to talk. Okay. Here, this I just took a snapshot of the streaming presentation by Guruji about how to focus on Sri Yantra. What Guruji says is the individual avaranas, particularly the triangles, they are essentially projections of a set of hexagons. Okay. Now, from here, before I discuss this further, I would want to mention one point that Guruji talked about. During some congregation, somebody asked Guruji, okay, we say Bhugolam, and we say Brahmanda. Okay? Why do we say Brahmanda? Why don't we say Brahmagolam? Then Guruji went into meditation, consulted with Saraswati, and comes back and gives an explanation where he says, a golem means a sphere, andam means an ellipsoid. A sphere will have one center, whereas an ellipse will have two centers. This universe is essentially a machination or a manipulation or a set of, is considered, a universe is essentially a superset of gazillions of interactions between two entities called you and I. When that you and I interact, each as they interact, it will form the so-called, a pattern. And when all these patterns are summed up, you are going to get a particular shape. And the only shape that you can get when there are two foci or two centers and the shape is closed, it is an ellipse. That's how the universe has got to be elliptical in shape and not spherical in shape. Relating that concept here, what Guruji says is, all these avaranas is essentially a projection of these hexagons. So you will see this hexagon is for the 10 triangles avarana. There is another hexagon inside which is again for another 10 triangles. There is an outside hexagon here. This hexagon is for the 14 triangles. And the hexagon is essentially a slightly digitized version of an ellipse. As you go into the avaranam, into the Sri Yantram, deeper and deeper, this hexagon keeps on reducing in size. Finally, it deminutes itself into a triangle, and the triangle collapses into a dot or a sphere. The dot is nothing but a sphere with zero radius. Okay? So, essentially, this Meru, as it forms, it is called Srushtikramam. From the dot, it just goes down and down and down. As it goes down, the 1 becomes 3. That is the first triangle. Could you put in my 8th avaranam?
8th avaranam.
8th avaranam, the central triangle. Okay. And the next one, the one is, okay. See what happens here is, this is how it is described as. This 8th avaranam has got only one triangle. This triangle has got 3 deities in it. That is Mahakameshwari, Mahavajreshwari, Mahabhagamayani. Mahakameshwari is considered to be the Vishnu Tattva. Mahavajreshwari is considered to be the Shiva Tattva. And when these two interact, you get in the so-called Mahabhagamani, which is the procreative energy, is the Brahma Tattva. Okay? So when something that has no time or space, when it explodes, it first creates the space and time, Vishnu and Shiva. When Vishnu and Shiva interact, you create the Brahma. From Brahma, which is actually the procreative energy, it starts pushing in the next layer called vibrations. That's why in this particular area, there is no space and time. Space and time are created. Once space and time are created, in the next 7th avaranam.
Sorry, yeah.
That's okay. 7th avaranam. So when the space and time interact, it creates the next avaranam, which for the first time it will bring in the concept of nadam, the vibration. Not even sound, it is just a vibration. Okay? That's why these 8 triangles, they are supposed to be the Adhisthana Devatas for all the speech that happens from that point on. That's why they are called Vashinyadi Devatas. Okay? That's why, which is that Kameshwari, Vashini, Kameshwari, Modini, Aruna, Vimala, Jaini, Sarveshwari, Kaulini. So, from no time and no space, space, time, and the interaction of those two are formed. From that, going to the next layer, the vibration happens. From that vibration, one layer, the sixth avaranamaya. Yeah. So from this layer of just vibration came the layer where the sounds will start manifesting. That's why this area becomes the area of sky. This is deep space Vyoma, where there is no sound anymore. From here comes in the realm of air. From the realm of air, the next avaranam, the next avaranam is the realm of fire. From that, you will have the realm of water. Okay? So, nothingness, time and space, vibration, sounds. In fact, sounds would occupy this one, and then the subsequent third avaranam. After third avaranam, its sounds will occupy from up to that point. If you go back from the bottom, you have got the square, which is actually a potpourri. This is actually a potpourri of sounds. Ahima siddhi, lam laghima siddhi, mam mahima siddhi, im ishit siddhi, brahmi, im maheshwari, like that. So each of these each of these deities, they are represented, they are denoted by one particular syllable, and the syllables do not have a particular order. They are a potpourri of syllables. From here, if you go into the next layer, second avaram. Here, this entire 16 syllables, 16 yoginis, they are denoted by 16 vowels. So from potpourri of sounds, if you are going in the samhara kramam where you want to merge into the unitary state, from potpourri of sound which expresses itself, it will go into the pure prana devatas or pure vowels. A, im, rum, lum, aim, om, aham. 16 vowels. Then if you go in further, this one, it rather sums up all the consonants available. Okay, where it starts here. See, while the other one, all the avaranas start here, the traversing starts here. This one is an exception. It starts from here. Okay, kankang gangangam. Chan chan jan. I mentioned sometime back, just a few minutes back, that you will jump. There is a regular irregularity coming in here. Kang kang gang hangam, chan chan jan chanjam, tan tan dan thandam, tan tan dan thandam, pam pam bam pam bam, yam ram lam vam sham sham sam hum lam sham. So all consonants are seated here. Just as some time back I said that 10 mudras or 10 siddhis sitting in the first avaranam, they are again individually mapped to individual avaranam. Something similar happens here. All the consonants will sit here. Then after that, when you go into the next avaranam, each of those individually or bunched up consonants will be assigned to a specific triangle in the inner avaranas. So we said ka to cha in the third avaranam. When we come to fourth avaranam, kam, kham, gang, hangam. In the third avaranam, all these five were sitting in one petal. So basically what we are doing is, as you go deeper and deeper, you will get a different sense of the so-called consonant system and vowel system. That's the experience you will get. Okay? Kang, kang, gang, hangam, chan, chan, jan, chanyam, tan, tan, dan, dhan. So from ka to dha will be the fourth avaranam. Then when you go into the next avaranam, dham is over. Nam, tan, than, dan, dhannam, pam, pam, bum, bum. For pa, it is over. Then it goes to the next hour. Mum, Yam ram lam vam sham sham sam hum cham. So if you are practicing deeply, the moment you come to this avaranam, the 10th, you will start sensing the sights. Because beyond this, there are no sounds. The sound stops here. From here, when you go into the 7th avaranam, it is just a vibration, a sense of a vibration and not a sound. The Vashinyadi Devata are sitting there. If you want to go down, they will push you into the realm of sounds. If you want to go up, from there they will push you into the realm of the formative state of space and time, which in turn subsequently some couple of layers down will cause the sound. So from the 7th avarana, when you transcend upward, you will go into here what happens is as a representation. Okay, these 8 devatas, they are given the entire bunch of sounds, the authorities of the entire bunch of sounds. Im, im, rum, lum, aim, aim, aham. Kang kang gang gangam chen chen jen jen yum tan tan dan dan num tan tan dan dan num pum pum bum 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 yum rum lum vum shum shum sum hum chum. Then beyond this, you will not even the vibration will not exist. Here it's a pure, highly puritanical, nascent state of time and space. Nothing else. Time and space, and you will witness the interaction. If you are coming down, you will go down this way. If you are going up, this time, the space and time will collapse into the so-called nothingness. As the antithetic statement it says, is an infinite nothingness. That's what it will be at the middle. So the entire traversing of from the totally expressive state, which contains potpourri of sounds, which would mean a potpourri of expressions, potpourri of languages, potpourri of words, potpourri of experience, physical experiences. All these things would happen here. From there, slowly you will go overcome one after the other, one after the other, one after the other. Slowly, you will get into you will start what you call slicing and dicing sounds. So once you are here, you're already into the awareness of pure form of sounds. There is no interpolation between two sounds getting you something. No. Kang kang gang gangam, chen chen jen jen yam. And these sounds at that particular level will have a different and will be carrying a different energy signature. That's why you will feel apo tattvam, agni tattvam, vayu tattvam, Vyoma Tattvam. So those things you will start experiencing. And then from that point on, when you go inside, you will even go beyond this. This is what it is called the state of mind, Mano Tattvam. So that means once you come here, this 8th avaranam, that it is known as the Mano Layam will happen. That means even the mind get destroyed, and when that happens, you will go to the mind.
Yeah, so we are at 6 o'clock. Yeah.
Oh.
Do you want to cover anything, or should we spend another
Yeah, but
10 minutes on
I'm
questions?
actually, I have covered whatever I wanted to cover.
Okay.
If you had any questions, yes, a few minutes you can spend for
Sure,
questions.
sure. So what we'll do is maybe we can spend another 15 minutes on questions, and then the remaining we can just respond in the
Yes.
classroom itself. So let me see. The last question I think I mentioned to you. Um, can you explain about sampradayas connected to Merus? I think you did that already, right?
Yeah.
And then the level of puja, does it differ based on the material of the Meru and the type of the Meru? The,
Sri Yantra is also known as the Vayat Yantra. It's a yantra of space. Okay. So when it's a yantra of space, the material as such should not matter, at least when you are in a particular level. When you go to an exalted state, yes, probably it may. But for the starters, it shall not. It will not matter. And by the way, speaking of materials of Meru, I did not speak about one particular material, that is Rasa Meru. There are people who would make Sri Yantra out of mercury. Mercury in solidified state. That's another material that can be used.
Then, yeah, the other question is, yeah, I think some of these we can probably respond offline. There's a question about Sarva Vidravani coming twice. I think that's more
Sarva
detailed
Vidravini
in
coming
the
twice.
Khadgamala.
Mm-hmm.
I think we can probably
Ah,
respond to that.
okay.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Then 10 mudras, can we explain? Yeah, we can explain that later. Are the avaranas, how do they map to the human body? I think that is one question.
Okay. There are varieties of ways these avaranas are mapped. In fact, I want to make mention of one more point here. I spoke about a system where these avaranas are mapped to the five elements, that is, solid state, liquid state, fire, and so on. But there is yet another situation where a different mapping where the fourth avaranam, beyond fourth avaranam, that is the fifth and the sixth, that is 10 triangles and 10 triangles, they call it Panchikaranam. That is, there are four sets of five, okay, subcategorized into two sets of 10. That's how the outer 10 triangles and the inner 10 triangles are formed. The outer 10 triangles are mapped to our the so-called Gnanendriyas. Okay, and the inner outer mapped to Gnanendriyas and the Karmendriyas, and the inner 10 are mapped to the five elements and their properties. Okay, what are the Gnanendriyas and Karmendriyas? Gnanendriyas are the walk, speech, Shrota, sense of hearing, Drishti, sense of sight, and then Grana, sense of smell, and then Tvak, sense of touch. Okay, they are the Gnanendriyas. These Indriyas, these Gnanendriyas will help you interact with the external and interpret the external based on the sense you get or based on the feedback you get from these Indriyas. And then Karmendriyas. Karmendriyas basically these in those organs they perform physical functions. That is walk, mouth, payu, that is excretion, walk, payu, pani, that is hands, work of deed, and then pada, locomotion, walk, pani, payu, walk, payu, pani, pada, upastha. Upastha is forgot. I'll get back on that. I just made the tip of the I just forgot that. So these are the five karmendriyas. So five gnanendriyas and five karmendriyas are mapped to the external 10 triangles. And then in the internal 10 triangles, that's where they are mapped to the five elements, that is Prithvi, Apas, Tejo, Vayu, Akasha, and their signatures. This is another system. Okay, there are two systems of approach. Now, which is correct? The only analogy I can give is kilos and pounds. You can measure the mass either with kilo systems or the pound system, but you cannot equate 1 kilo exactly to a pound. The same way, this is one system. You can follow this system or you can follow the other system. Okay. Now, when it comes to mapping the Sri Yantra to the human body itself, there are, say, Guruji has given a detailed description of how each individual knuckles are mapped, how the elbow is mapped, and so on. But I, being naively arrogant, so to say, I'm a little too lazy to map my body to such a deep extent. Somehow, I tend to feel that if you map that and keep meditating, you will be so much aware of your own body. The idea is you have to escape from that. So what I typically tend to do is the feet are mapped to the first avaranam. The feet has 28 deities. So you can say the toes and then their knuckles there. The big toe is mapped to something. All that is there. But the entire set of 28 bones in the feet, they are mapped to the 28 deities. And then the thighs are mapped to the second avaranam. Okay? And then the base of the spine, that is mapped to the third avaranam. And then the stomach region or navel region, sorry, the genital region is mapped to the fourth avaranam. And then the navel or the stomach region is mapped to the fifth avaranam, fire principle. That's why you digest food over there. Okay. Then anahatam is mapped to the sixth avaranam. This portion that's why it's the what is it? Atmosphere sky principle. Akasham. Then Akasham, the throat is mapped to the seventh avaranam, which is the deep space. Okay. And then from the here above, there is no concept of sound. Sound dies. There is no more sound from here on. From here on, when you go to the Agna Chakram, this is mapped to the eighth avaranam, where that is the thin layer below which the mind exists, beyond which the mind disappears. That's why they say what happens here is called Manolayam, eighth avaranam. As my Guru says, up till this point, the Upasaka performs his sadhana and gets there. Once he gets here, the Guru will take over. He will tell him if there is any more karma sesham left for him, he says, no, go down. Go down, do your job, and then come back. And then from this point, after that, he will lead you through the, here there are again 9 chakras. From between the 8th and the 9th, there are 9 chakras. You traverse through that, and finally you will reach the 9th avaranam, that is Bindusthana. On the top of, in fact, it is Dwadashantam, about 12 inches above the top of the head. That's where you will reach. Okay. Anything else?
I think that's all. Yeah, there are a couple of specific questions about specific Khadgamala deities, which I think we can answer
That's
offline.
one thing. But the specific Khadgamala, this one I would rather encourage you to get into Sri Vidya first. Only if you are in Sri Vidya, we will talk about it in detail. Otherwise, the element of redundancy comes in there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
It's fine. So this is what I wanted to. I mean, beyond this much, I didn't plan to talk about, particularly for a general audience. So if you have got any questions, anything else to ask about, please feel free to send in your questions. I'll be only too happy to just. If I don't answers, I don't have answers, I'll explore them and I'll find some answers for you and get back to you. And once it is all done, I'll compile the whole exercise into some kind of an essay and I'll post it in the classroom for everybody to access. Okay. Shri Guru Bhyo Namah.
Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you.